student eligibility and admission. Oops. To be eligible for our program, a student needs to be 18 years of age and have a high school diploma or a certificate of completion. They need to have the desire to get a job and keep it, and to have an IQ of 70 or below. And that's as documented on a psychoeducational evaluation or an IEP from high school. For admissions, because I'm the project coordinator, I review the student records, and if anything comes from their school or details on their psych eval, then I schedule an interview with the parents and the child. The parents fill out our application packet, and then they bring the application materials to the scheduled interview. The interview questions are mostly directed from me to the child. Our application packet is available on our website, and it includes a set of questions about things like interests and abilities, health-related issues, favorite subject in school, and most difficult academic classes, along with previous experience for volunteering or working at a job for pay. When we were originally planning this packet, we reached out to other FPCTP programs to ask what they use, and the program sent us a lot of useful information and samples. Besides our application questionnaire, we have two other forms that I got from someplace where I'm not sure who to credit, but they came from asking around to other programs. First, we asked parents to complete the UCLA Skills and Behavior Checklist for everyday living tasks, and then to complete a person-centered set of observations of student life skills across 10 domains. Those domains are self-determination, functional academics, financial planning and money management, socialization, relationships and self-esteem, employment, travel and mobility, community living, home living, personal care, and health and safety. So we just ask the parents to weigh in on all those topics. And then the questions at the interview come from that. Some of the other programs have a much more comprehensive application packet than we do. So you might want to look, ask around or look at their websites to get some other great ideas. After the interview, I review the student records and write up a summary that's delivered to our 3-person review team. We review documentation of the IQ of 70 or below, their performance during the interview, their interest in going to college and getting a certificate and having a job, maturity and safety levels, and reading and writing scores, and we judge the amount of support that they might need. The review team meets to discuss these areas, and the parents are told at the interviews that they will hear from us one way or the other within 15 working days. In section 3, we discuss assessments and advising. For assessments at St. Pete College, we use several to help us get to know the needs of the students. We're looking at their levels of functioning regarding independent living, and we use the information to help guide the students in selecting their program of study. So we use the AIR self-determination assessment, the tag generator, and the students transitioning to adult roles, or the STAR process. And I'll share a little bit about each one of these. The AIR is from the American Institute for Research, hence the AIR, in collaboration with the Teachers College at Columbia University. It's available free from the Zaro Center for Learning Enrichment, and there's the hot link for you on the page. The AIR assessment measures 2 broad areas of self-determination. Capacity refers to the student's knowledge, abilities, and perceptions that enable them to be self-determined, and opportunity refers to the student's chances to use their knowledge and abilities. The second assessment is the tag generator. This is the transition assessment goal generator, and it's an online transition assessment for secondary age youth for identifying students' strengths and needs. This one is also from the Zorro Center, but it's not free. It costs $3 per assessment. And the constructs that it measures are there listed on the screen for you. And then there's a direct link to where you can do the pay for it and do the downloads. The last assessment is the STARS Transitioning to Adult Role process. And this is designed to ensure students with disabilities who are transitioning into post-secondary programs have the opportunity to plan their own future. The process gathers information across 5 domains listed there on the slide. And those are the STAR domains. You can train in how to use this process and to receive a free facilitator's guide by going to the Project 10 Transitioning Education Network website and registering for a free webinar. It takes about 30 minutes to do the training, and then you download the manual and all the materials. For section 3, this question is also asked: how is assessment used to identify and develop a student's targeted program of study? In general, I used the interview process questions like I shared earlier, and some of the STAR chart processing questions to help students select their pathway. They usually come with an interest in mind, a lot of them. And if not, it's part of our role to help them guide their way to finding that out for themselves. We have 2 pathways that students can follow toward a certificate at the Seminole campus, either hospitality or digital video. And we're proposing 2 new pathways at a separate campus location here in Clearwater. And those would be building arts construction pathway and the digital photography pathway. For assessment and advising, academic and social advisement takes place initially once a week when a student first starts with us. While advisement is available at any time, after the student becomes acclimated and we're sure they're meeting with success, we move the sessions to be held every other week. And then we reduce it down to 3 times per semester unless students are showing signs of needing more assistance. We also have planned a peer mentoring program where students would be connected with a peer once a week, and advisement questionnaires would be filled out after each session. But unfortunately, we've advertised for this paid peer mentor position for 2 semesters now, and we haven't had any takers yet. In section 4 of the application, it's the major section, and this is where you just describe your program in detail. The FPCTP Act requires that students attend an FPC on no less than half-time basis, which is decided by each university. So for us at St. Pete College, half-time or part-time enrollment requires students to take 6 credit hours per semester. That's 2 courses per semester. And each of our pathways require 4 semesters for the credential. So we pair a pathway course with 4 pathway courses with 4 electives, and they'll take 2 classes each semester. All these classes are attended with their non-disabled peers, and this is how we qualify to be covered by the scholarship. For example, for a student on the hospitality pathway, they would take Management 2340 Supervisory Management class, which is a hospitality pathway class, paired with Speech 1017, which is an introduction to speech communication, which is an elective. And then you can see going on down for the next 3 semesters, we'll pair a hospitality class with an elective. If the student takes the pathway class for credit, then they'll earn an industry certification called the Food and Beverage Management Specialist Certification for Hospitality. And if they audit the course not for credit, then they receive a certificate of employment with a focus in hospitality. And that one's awarded from us at the Titans UP program. So this works the same way if they go through the video pathway. For the program, we also describe that we have instructional support specialists. We call them academic coaches, and they go to classes with students when they can. And then they follow up with students after the class using face-to-face classes or Zoom sessions. And these are geared to helping them understand concepts and completing homework and projects. Like I mentioned, in the future, we hope to have peer mentors who develop a relationship with students and meet with them once a week to build upon and strengthen these 5 domains here. And you might recognize those as the STAR process domains. Then we also hold workshops and seminars across the semesters to support students in work-related areas and independent living. And these are held for individually to meet students' needs as a group. And the classes are held for Titans UP students only. They don't go out with their non-disabled peers for these. Now, I've just told you in a general way about our program, but for your application, of course, you're going to go into much greater depth to spell out the details of your program. They specifically ask you to describe the scope and sequence of your curriculum, the length of your program, the program organization, the types of courses, how instruction is delivered, and how and when students earn industry recognized certificates or credentials. In section 5, we start on describing our employment opportunities in 3 different ways. First, you have to describe your program's plan for partnerships with other businesses to promote experiential training and employment opportunities for students with intellectual disabilities. For St. Pete College, throughout their time in their pathway courses and in their electives, the students are engaged in employment-focused activities like job discovery, resume building, and mock interviews. And we also have opportunities within our target industries locally for students with intellectual disabilities. For example, we have luxury resorts like the Don Cesar Hotel and the Innisbrook Golf Resort, and they operate vocational training experiences in their food service, housekeeping, recreation, and banquet facilities, where the students use the skills that they're learning along the hospitality pathway. We also have to describe the employment opportunities available through the program. We leverage our community partnerships because we have a comprehensive network, and we work with Vocational Rehab, Park, and the Arc of Tampa Bay, which they have networks of employers that they work with when they're placing their clients in jobs. On campus, we also work closely with the Career and College Connections staff to help with resume writing, mock interviews, internship opportunities, and job fairs. Then you must describe employment opportunities upon successful completion of the program. And here for us, we contract with Arc of Tampa Bay, and that's via vocational rehab to provide more in-depth career guidance through phase 1 and phase 2 of special services called supported employment. For us, we contract with Arc of Tampa Bay, and they offer 32 weeks of individualized support with 4 hours each week, specifically focused on gaining employment in a desired career field. During phase 1, they have a discovery phase, and the coaches provide pre and post assessments. They do focused activities that help students hone in on their careers they might be of interest, and they build a comprehensive customized discovery profile for each participant. Then during phase 2, the employment phase, the coaches provide pre and post assessments. They focus on activities like resume writing and interview skills, and they design a comprehensive employment stability plan for each participant. In phase 2, they also help the students apply for jobs online and in person, and may even do some on-site job coaching if needed on an individual basis. Next, in section 6, we talk about performance indicators. And one of the major ones is satisfactory academic progress, but you have other evaluation pieces that you wrote into your grant. So for satisfactory academic progress, the performance indicators that we identify include goal number 1, attendance, goal number 2, participation in class, and goal number 3, completion of assignments. And these performance indicators are measured along a 5-point goal attainment scale from poor to excellent. These also came from another program originally, and then we altered this to meet our needs. A midterm notice is sent to any student who is in jeopardy of scoring a poor or below average rating on their SAP. And this student immediately goes on warning and must work with me to receive academic advisement. The counseling is provided to the student about specific ways to improve his or her status towards any identified issues, whether they're with attendance, participation, or completion of assignments. And a student's SAP is assessed at the end of each semester. So if there's anyone that's still receiving a poor rating, they're immediately placed on probation. And then these students on probation receive a letter of notice and participate in the development of an action plan. And that would be according to the student's specific needs. Probation only lasts for 1 semester. So after 1 semester, if the student still has a poor rating, then they would be deemed not in good standing and they could no longer participate in the program. In section 7, we discuss program sustainability over time. For us, my project coordinator's position and the position and the program itself remain under retention services. In this way, we have an increased opportunity for looking for alternative forms of state and federal grant support. We'll also be applying for a continuing grant with FCSUA in February, so we've been working on that. In section 8, if you have a CTP approval, then you upload your letter here. And then in section 9 of the application, this is where you upload supplemental application materials. And this covers all the things that we just discussed that you describe in detail about your program. For new FPCTP applications, you have to include evidence that the institution's governing board has approved the proposed FPCTP, and that's with official minutes that include the board's actions regarding the proposal and a letter from the president. Additional materials are included, but not limited to the things listed here: program recruitment and admission materials, which we discussed, curriculum materials, industry certification materials, any agreements you have with business partners and work-based relationships, program evaluation plan, and other materials as needed. And they let you upload those. For section 10, this includes getting all the correct signatures, and then we celebrate our success because that completes the application process. Hooray. Before we move on to questions though, I was asked to speak a little bit about how our credentials were chosen at St. Pete College and to provide some success stories. So I wanted to share with you about choosing the credentials. First and foremost, of course, it's based on what your university offers. So for us, hospitality and digital video production and building arts and digital photography are all courses that are offered face-to-face. So those meet the requirements of our grant. Also, these 4 credentials are in high demand career fields in the St. Petersburg, Tampa area here around us. So there are a lot of job opportunities. I mentioned before that we have 2 prominent hotels specifically that offer programs for students with unique abilities in hospitality. And there's a lot of television and video production here in our area as well. During our interview process too, some people express to us interest in other areas and credentials we don't have. One thing that students often present an interest in is working with animals. But for us at St. Pete College, our veterinary technology certificate is very medical in nature. So it's highly challenging and it wouldn't really be a good fit for everyone. We also have students that express an interest in working with kids, but the St. Pete College Preschool Teacher's Aide certificate here that's offered by the university is only offered online, all online. So it's not within the parameters of the grant. We do have a few of these students that end up joining us in hospitality because there are many customer-focused classes and they can get an opportunity to learn skills about working with the public. Then when they get to their last 2 semesters and they work with ARCA Tampa Bay or with Folk Rehab, they help them focus on their field of interest and help them drill down on that a little bit. I'll finish with a few success stories. We're a fairly new program. We opened to students in the spring of 2020, and we've had 4 students graduate in hospitality in May of 2021. Plus, we're getting ready to have 4 more graduate in hospitality this coming December. That's our biggest blessing. Of all our students, everyone's earned satisfactory academic progress, so we haven't had to put anyone on probation, which has been a good thing. We did have one student leave the program because she was offered full-time work with the Tampa Bay Rays as a shift supervisor. So her schedule wouldn't allow her to finish her courses, but the job she got was a good outcome for her. Other pluses are we've built some great relationships with the professors who work with our students. And since we've been through a full cycle of graduates, we're revisiting the same courses and we know a little bit more about what to expect. And of course, I can't say enough about how much the FCSUA team and other FPCTP programs have helped us get through our first full year and a half with students. In closing, I just want to say that back in 2019, when I sat through my first PEPI presentation like this one, I was really overwhelmed. But just 2 short years later, I've been able to complete an application, complete an FPCTP renewal, and I'm also working on a continuing grant. So my comfort level has grown greatly. And I just wanted to say that you can ask for help wherever you can. And of course, feel free to call me if you need anything. So that's about it for me. And I guess we're ready for questions.
There are no questions in the chat room, but if you have a question, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. I know you mentioned this before, April, but how long have you been doing this now at St. Pete?
We started with our first group of students in 2020, in the spring of 2020. So it's just been a short time, actually.
How long did it take you to get through everything before you really started?
Well,
you were saying you had to do all the grants and everything like that.
Right. And I wasn't actually on board when they wrote the grant. So I got hired after. So that was actually about a year in the working right there. And then I worked about 6 months to work on the policies and procedures about some of the things we talked about on here. And then we started with the students. And
how did you find the students again?
Well, we recruit from local high schools in their intellectually disabled programs, and then also in transition programs. And we recruit with private schools in our neighborhoods. And then we have a networking agency called Pinks that we can present. And I also do email campaigns to remind vocational rehab that we have what pathways we offer.
Did vocational rehab refer some students to you?
Yes, absolutely. They're a very good source.
That's great. Good to hear. Does anyone else have any other questions? Not hearing any. I want to say thank you very much, April, for taking the time to do this presentation. I'm sure it was very helpful, especially for those who are just thinking about starting a program and how to go through all those hoops that you have to jump through to get to the program, to get finished. And it's good to know that you folks persevered and got through, and you've got, what, 4 graduates now and 4 more graduates? That's going to be
Right.
fantastic. I applaud you.
Thank you very much.
And there's one, oh, great job. Everybody's saying great job in the chat room. Good
Okay,
job. Thank you very much, April, and have a good afternoon.